here it is. Okay, so hello, Julia.
Yasu, Edith.
Yes,
Erev Tov.
yes, almost Erev Tov, yeah.
What is it? If it is not Erev Tov?
Well, because it's still afternoon.
Okay.
But we keep trying, yes?
You need to give me the time zones now. I need to learn everything.
Slowly, slowly. I think this will be the motto of today's Exploring Reality. We are in Exploring Reality 24. And this is the 18th of April, 2021. And we've got an inquiry from receptor 1. And actually, I would like to take a moment and thank you for the inquiries, because in your questions, you are illuminating a blind spot in my own development. What I think it is obvious, yes, what I think is obvious is a blind spot. So this is a bilateral service and actually a multilateral one, a systemic service. And the question was, I was wondering if you and Julia could talk about seeing the error without terror. The reason for this comes out from this feeling of being in two worlds at once. One world is full of made-up stories and lies, and the other is clarity and truth. It is like straddling both of these existences. And before we start, actually, I would like to reiterate the fact of being self-referenced, to have your own answers for your own questions and listening to your own original self and locating your own interferences by at least 1/3 to 2/3. Yes, not to get too big dosage from someone else for your answers and therefore get blocked. So after having said that, let's start. Because terror is an emotional reaction. And this emotional reaction has got two consequences. The first is that because of the terror, I hardly see the mistake because of the emotional state and because of the resonance of all post-traumatics in my current and other lives. And the second is that I fire once more the existing wire between what has happened and my emotional reactivity. So I thicken this connection. And mistakes are for a reason. As an example, there might be a hidden program in 4, such as I am not seen. This is a great part of our psychology, that we are not seen. We don't count and we are not seen. When having a tendency of thinking as a user of reality, yes, and therefore the psychology says I use reality as good as I can, as good as I can for myself. And this can have millions of consequences. In the investor, let's say, I exploit as much as I can. In a regular person, I drive the lane for public transportation as long as there is no policeman. or kills whoever irritates me as long as they don't hear, etc. Yeah, you get the sense. Another reason might be that we have missing programs. Another reason for a mistake is that we have missing programs, such as you go to the bank to open a private account in a foreign country and you speak about your business, and the banker denies you the account because they get the idea that it is not private. And I know what, you know what I mean. Or you want to kick the ball thinking you are Maradona and you miss the ball because you miss that wiring between your eyes and legs. It's a missing program. So there might be many reasons for a mistake, and if we don't see the mistake, we cannot see the cause of it, which is in plane 4. I might be in a different rhythm than the algorithm of reality requires. This is another reason for a mistake. So seeing the error is a help towards growing one's perception of reality and of ourselves in that reality. But in order to see it, I have to be neutral. Otherwise, there are other automatic programs, such as to blame someone else, or to give an excuse, or what the Inquirer called made-up stories. These belong to existential errors that we are all born with in the operating system sapiens. And the T of the terror will activate them immediately. Because in a slower plane, most of our errors are slow, meaning the consequence comes much later. Say, if I don't clean my teeth, then only a month or a year later, the teeth hurt. And I don't necessarily connect between the error and its consequences. And for the immediate errors, those that belong to surviving, we are more or less educated by the context, yes? And this is more to do with the identity we are, the linear unfolding of surviving modern culture. But for internal errors that are part of the operating system and prevent us from being located in the essence, we are inside that identity, we don't learn how to deal with them at all. We don't develop the inner eyes. We do not learn to inspect that realm. And in general, we do not have the knowledge and energy this requires available for that, because it requires speed that is above our usual goings on for surviving the cultural civilization. And yes, in a terror movie, you might have noticed that when we mute the sound, all of a sudden it is not that terrifying. And it is then that the watcher is more neutral to what is actually happening. The monster, when you turn on the light, is something else completely that you imagine that was making that sound, let's say, of movement, as if someone is in the room. Yes, you know this feeling and experience. And see, in a movie, we all know it is a movie, and there was a director telling the actor to make a certain face and walk in a certain way. And if we don't leave the two dimensions, the fact that it is also a movie, we are left totally conditioned by the director and the acting and the effects, the sound effects. Now, the identity is just the movie of the director that is the essence, and in order to come into contact with it and operate online, there is a need to detect and derive the existential error that is a bug in the operating system and gradually dissolve that buffer in relation to 7. And the good news is that a small release in the holding errors of 4, of plane 4, will bring a big result in our essential process. And you feel it in the sensation and in your neutrality. The more we clean the filters, the more we are synchronized with our original self that is part of the sun's soma, another way of describing reality. And just to end this with a logical curio, error equals 78, which is when the point of singularity gets the reports from the users and transfers the information to the source of the octave to get it synchronized with the rest of the knowledge and get it up to date. If you add to it T, which is 21, you get 99, which is one step removed from 100, a new creation, or a creality. This is a new word by me.
So is it ERROT or EROTI?
Well, it's error is ERROR, and terror is simply adding it a T before error.
Okay.
Now, 99 is so fast that it goes straight into the body through the unconsciousness, the biological unconsciousness. And the next thing that happens is that we get sick, because the processing of the updates will have to be via the soma rather than the psyche. And you continue being an eternal subscriber of things written for you rather than cooperating in the writing itself. Now, there was an addition to this inquiry, and it said, it also seems that the challenges that are appearing in my life are getting more and more intense, but I had a revelation that they are very similar to Biden's infrastructure plan. These challenges are there to rebuild the infrastructure for the future. What a relief to view the challenges this way. Well, it is the same with errors, where we could agree in terms of language that mistakes are those we make in our surviving of the civilization, and errors are to do with the improvement of the species. In any case, as you say, they are a present. I will tell you a story from this year. I had an accident at home, which was very beneficial to my revealing of the back room, which is another name for the operating system we are not conscious of. A big radiator fall on my foot. And what I saw, yes, I was trying to move a table because accidents are for a reason. I was trying to move a table and I forgot that underneath it, there is a big radiator. And what I saw is that change doesn't have to be violent, you see. With anticipation, change is natural. Big changes are composed by gradual, natural ones. In my plane 4, I did not have that perception established. To want to move the table all at once without checking what it is connected to is violent. We might call it lack of patience, say. But there is a reason for this lack of patience, a hidden one. Now, I was asked to zoom into existential error of plane 4. Yes, I was asked by receptor 30. So I'm combining inquiries here.
Yes.
And it is that in 4, the connection with 7 is interpreted by us as an emptiness, which it is really, because it's a contact with the void. So we will try to fill it up with something, with food, with drink, with socials, whatever, that we will not have to fill that void. It starts by the baby crying and we giving it a pacifier. And don't misunderstand, this is sometimes needed, yes? It is only an example. But when we observe how we operate, we need to see what are the pacifiers and if they are needed because of the existential error to fill up the space that is purposed to capture the online signals that update the whole system. When there is silence, we need to talk to fill it up. And when there is talking, we want a quiet place. And when you're resting, you think you are missing activity. And when you're in activity, you want to rest. It is a given condition in the operating system of plane 4, the processor. Lately, I heard a good story about the person who created the language, software programming language, Python. He's a Dutch person, Van Rossum. And he was asked how did he do it? And his answer was amazing, because he replied that the holidays were coming and everybody else had plans to go out with their friends, but he was not popular and he didn't have any plans. And he started this project. And in others, you can imagine this would be interpreted by the psychology of I am lonely and nobody needs me and nobody wants me, so I have to fill it up. So every time we feel the need to be popular or have a lover or a pet or a drink or a must that will make us feel significant and complete once again, my best advice is to derive that existential error to the origin in the nocturnal derivation and empty some of that space for the update of the solar system that we are all part of. We are all here to live fully the function and the role for the system we are part of. This is the beginning point of a solar identity rather than a linear identity. And anticipation makes changes gradual and natural, providing the resource before the challenge comes. But for anticipation, there is a need for neutrality and for an empty space in ourselves, a zero to receive that signal. Now, I'm not saying don't live a life. Don't listen to the news, or don't read a book, or don't have relationships. What I'm saying is be aware what operates you and change it from an unconscious condition to a conscious election. And I hope this helps.
It helps a lot. And I get also the picture that unless these existential errors are dealt in one way or another, we cannot have such a connection with our source and with our higher self to deliver the updating. So
they slow us down. Yeah, they slow us down, definitely. And we do our best, but we cannot have the speed to see beyond.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's very helpful, Edith.
Great. So thank you for your time, your companionship, and see you the next time.
Thank you very much for your devotion to this. Bye.
Bye-bye.